Edgewood University. Year 1, Episode 8. Friend. A friend is one soul abiding in two bodies. Aristotle. See, I told you she had a boyfriend. I don't stand a chance. Breathed Connor, and Faith sighed. You and me both, Con. She sighed, and Connor bumped her shoulder. He raised an eyebrow, and she looked at him oddly. What? Don't worry. You know my style. You will have your boy toy back before you know it. He snickered, and Faith shook her head, smirking. Her brother was famous for breaking up couples when he wanted the girl because he intimidated half the pack. So the men would cower to Connor, and Connor would date the girl for a while and throw her back. Faith looked at Tyler and Layla, and she too felt jealousy creep up her spine. She shivered, shook it off, and looked at Connor. What is she? Asked Faith, and Connor sighed. She's a Hellcat, but I believe she's the one. Alpha Hellcat Dragon Spark. He explained, watching Tyler spin her and feeling jealous. Wait, are you saying you got into a fight with the Hellcat and won? Asked Alex, amazed, and Cody elbowed him in the ribs. Alex snickered, eating an apple, and pushed Cody. What? It's awesome, he added, and Connor rolled his eyes. We didn't fight. I surrendered to her. I had no choice. She linked with me, he said, and Faith looked at his wounds. They look awful. Why haven't they healed yet? She asked, touching his face, and Connor winced. They look infected. Because they are. The only way to heal them is an emotional tear from the alpha that scratched you. He sighed. Well, why don't you break her heart and make her cry for you? She seems to like you a lot, considering the little display in the car. She teased. Her brother frowned and growled. Faith stepped back and raised her hands. I will talk to her tonight. I'm sure she would be happy to help fix your face, she said, hiding a smile, and Connor growled again. He walked into his room and slammed the door. Oh, come on, that was funny, she yelled and chuckled. Get some rest, Connor growled. Love you too, bruh. And Faith looked at Alex and Cody and grabbed her bags. Where are you going? Asked Alex, and she sighed, realizing her bag was much heavier than she thought. To go meet my roommates, girls' and boys' rooms separately. I hope I'm close to Layla. You'll be fine without me for the night, she said and left. That was absolutely brilliant, exclaimed Bailey and Cassidy in unison, and Layla laughed. The girls were in the sitting room, drinking cocoa, enjoying snacks, and curled up on the sofas. Did you see Connor staring at me? Layla asked, and the girls nodded. Yeah, I think he likes you, snorted Bailey. Well, he is handsome, said Layla, shrugging. Bailey snorted, and Layla looked at her. You told him. She laughed, and Layla smirked. I know. The girls laughed and tossed throw pillows at each other. Suddenly, the suite door opened, and Faith smiled, walking in. Hi, she breathed, and Layla gave Bailey and Cassidy a clever look. Hug! Exclaimed Layla, and the girls threw the pillows at her. Faith made a face, and the girls laughed. What are you doing here? Asked Layla. You're looking at your new roomie. Did Tate not tell you guys? Sorry, I had to take care of some pack business with my brother, she said, and Layla crossed her arms. So, I see. You guys were talking about me, she said, and Cassidy and Bailey looked at Faith suspiciously. Faith stuttered, and Layla busted out laughing. I'm only fooling. Don't get your panties in a wad, she teased, and Faith snorted. Girls, she's good. We met before my freak accident, said Layla, and Bailey threw a pillow at her. You didn't freak out. You evolved into a beautiful animal, she noted, wrinkling her nose, and Cassidy and Faith laughed. Your room is over there, said Bailey, pointing to a yellow door beside Layla's room. Thanks, said Faith, and she carried her bags to her room. Layla got off the couch, threw a pillow at Cassidy, made a face, and walked into Faith's room. If you need anything, I am 2 steps away, she said, leaning against the doorframe, and Faith looked at her thoughtfully. Actually, I need a favor. Not me personally, but for my brother. I know he was a dick to you, and you don't have to. I mean, I would totally understand, she mumbled, fidgeting with her hands. Layla sighed and shook her head. Faith looked at her, and Layla gave her an apologetic look. I'm sorry, Faith. I'm not marrying your brother. she teased, and Faith searched her eyes. Damn it, she breathed, and they both laughed. I wouldn't wish that train wreck on my worst enemy. It's bad enough I have to endure it. Faith teased, opening her suitcase, and Cassidy and Bailey laughed. Layla looked at Faith thoughtfully and walked toward her. So, what can I do to help Connor? She asked. Well, my brother needs an emotional tear from you to heal. You kind of fucked up his face, said Faith, folding his shirt, and Layla grabbed some clothes and started folding. Bailey and Cassidy looked at each other, and Cassidy giggled. Why? Isn't he an alpha? Your healing power is much stronger when you're the dominant of your species, said Cassidy, and Faith blew a breath, looking at her thoughtfully. True, but when an alpha of an ancient species injures a werewolf, the only antidote is a tear from them, she explained, and Bailey snickered. But Layla isn't an alpha. Layla snorted, making her eyes crimson, and Bailey gasped. If you want more proof, just ask Layla's boyfriend, said Faith, and Layla snickered. I don't have a boyfriend, she said, and Faith gave her a knowing look. Really? What about Tyler? Layla laughed, and Cassidy snickered. Tyler isn't my boyfriend. He's my best friend. We're just very close. We've known each other since we were in diapers. Who told you he was my boyfriend? Faith thought momentarily and laughed wholeheartedly. You two are just friends. Oh ho, my brother is an idiot. She breathed. What do you mean? Asked Cassidy. Ever since I can remember, Connor has thought he was God's gift to women and makes a game out of breaking up relationships if he has an eye on a girl. Gives him some sick, twisted sense of power trip. But this right here is golden. My brother believes you and Tyler are a couple and is going to make such a fool of himself, said Faith. Layla made a face and nodded. This serves him right. But what you're also saying is your brother is interested in me? She asked, pointing to herself, and Faith giggled. Yep, he says he likes you. Well, ladies, I don't mean to cut this short, but it's going to be lights out soon. We all have class in the morning, said Bailey. On the contrary, ladies, said a voice from inside the suite, and Layla, Cassidy, Bailey, and Faith walked out of the room. Maya stood in the sitting room with her warlock guards and smiled at the girls. I see you all are getting acquainted. In the events over the last couple of days, I've decided to postpone classes until the following day. I want everyone well rested for their studies, so please take tomorrow to get your affairs in order, she said, and left the room. The girls looked at each other and shrugged. Well, on that note, I'm off to bed. I will see you ladies in the morning, yawned Cassidy and went into her room. Bailey smiled sleepily and nodded. Sounds like a plan. Faith and Layla looked at each other, and Layla yawned as tears filled her eyes. Tears rolled down her cheeks, and she was about to wipe them away, but Faith grabbed her hand. Don't move, she said, and Layla looked at her oddly. Faith ran into her room, grabbed a vial from her bag, and ran back into the sitting room. She collected the remaining tears and looked at Layla. Yawn again. She yawned, and Layla yawned. Tears rolled down her cheeks, and Faith quickly collected that. Thank you, she said gratefully, and Layla nodded, giving her an odd look. I thought you said they had to be emotional tears. Yes, you're overtired, and tired tears hold all the emotions from the day and with the day you've had. I'm sure Connor will heal in no time, explained Faith. Layla smiled sleepily, and Faith touched her shoulder. Get some rest. I'll take these to my brother. Thanks again, Lai. Of course, and tell your brother, I hope it fixes his pretty face, but I meant what I said. Even if they scar, he will still be beautiful, she said, and Faith snorted. I think we're going to be great friends, but I'm leaving the beautiful part for you to tell him, she said, and Layla laughed. Oh, wait. Yeah, me too. Oh, hey, does Connor have a girlfriend? Or should I say flavor of the month? And Faith shook and tilted her head. No, why? Do you like my brother? Layla smiled shyly and shrugged. Get some rest, said Faith. Layla watched her leave the suite, crawled into her bed, and fell into a deep sleep. Connor slowly opened his eyes, sat up, and rubbed his face, bracing for the pain, but there wasn't any. He felt where the claw marks were, but his skin felt smooth and untouched. He bolted for the bathroom, switched on the light, and stared at his face in awe. He smiled, realizing his sister convinced Layla to help, and walked into his room. He noticed a note on his dresser and picked it up. "We'll feel better soon. She says she hopes they fix your pretty face. I'm in the same suite as her. Love, F." He grinned, pulled his clothes on, and walked into the sitting room. Alex and Cody were sitting on the couch, going over Alex's schedule, and they looked at their alpha. "No, relax. Things are going to be a little different at this school. Like, Cody, you have your free will," said Connor, and Alex pointed. "Your face. It's healed," he said. Connor sighed, nodded, and looked out the window. "Yeah, Faith convinced Layla like she said she would." "That's a good thing, right? I heard you were a dick to her at the bar," said Cody, and Connor only nodded. "Yeah, I was." He sighed. "So, what time do these classes start?" "School isn't starting until tomorrow. Headmistress wants everyone to rest up," said Alex, and Connor looked at his little brother thoughtfully. "Well then, Cody, you can give us the tour," he said, and Cody nodded. "Layla," whispered Tyler, running his finger down the bridge of her nose, and Layla's face twitched. He chuckled, and she opened her eyes. "Hi," she said, stretching. "Hi." She looked at the clock and sighed. It was a couple of hours before noon, and the bright sun shone through the window. "What are you doing here? Isn't it against your mom's rules for boys to be in the girls' dormitories?" she asked, and he laughed, rubbing her thigh. "I could see her having a problem if we were dating, but since we've been friends since before we could speak, I don't think she will have a problem with it." Layla smiled, sat up, remembered what she had done for Faith, and gave Tyler a thoughtful look. He pushed her back and searched her eyes. "What?" she sighed, tapping her fingertips on his collarbone, and he looked at her. "Well, you know how I changed and attacked the guy you don't like?" she asked, and he nodded. "I didn't know a scratch from another alpha can poison and kill a werewolf. So Faith, my new roommate, explained everything to me, and the only antidote was tears from me. Connor was infected, and if I didn't help, he could have died, so I gave her my tears." Tyler searched her eyes, rubbed her thigh, and sighed. Layla frowned and made a face. "You know, you could have let him suffer for a couple more days," he teased, and she laughed, shaking her head. "And this is why we're not a couple. You pick pain and suffering, and I always find another way." He snickered, and she touched his face. "I would rather stay best friends than ruin our friendship over sex," he said, and she agreed. "Me too," she whispered. He kissed the side of her mouth, smiled, and rolled off the bed. "I've got to meet with my mother. See you at dinner tonight," he said, walking toward the window. Layla scrambled out of bed and ran to him. "Is everything okay with you and your mother?" she asked, and he nodded. "Yeah, see you later," he said, slipping out the window. She sighed and heard a knock at the door. "Layla? Are you awake? I heard voices," called Faith. Layla shook her head, walked toward the door, and opened it. Faith, Bailey, and Cassidy grinned, and Layla snorted. "Can I have you nosy ladies? Did you have a boy in your room?" Snickered Bailey, and Layla smirked. "Maybe, but he's gone now. And it's not that type of relationship," she said. Murmured Cassidy, and Faith snickered. "Well, come on. We're headed to the dining hall. I smell food," said Bailey. The dining hall was filled with students in their pajamas, eating at the all-day buffet, and the girls stood in line, getting their trays. Layla left the suite in her teddy bear slippers, blue cotton shorts, and short sweater with long sleeves. "So, have you seen your brother? Did the tears work?" asked Layla as she put her hair in a messy bun. Faith looked around the cafeteria and smiled when she saw Alex, Cody, and Connor sitting at a back table. She saw the claw marks were gone and smiled. "Yeah, he's good as new." She pointed and Layla looked. She gasped, seeing Connor's face completely healed, and their eyes met. Connor bowed, smiling, and she blushed as their eyes shimmered. She turned and smacked Faith in her arm. Connor noticed what Layla was wearing and couldn't help thinking how cute she looked in her teddy bear slippers and little blue shorts. It happened again. Faith looked at her, eating a grape, and she shook her head. "What?" "Three-eye flashy thing," she sighed. "What does it mean?" Faith gave her a thoughtful look and shrugged, and they followed Bailey and Cassidy to a table. Bailey glanced at Connor several times and noticed him staring at their table. "No offense, Faith, But your brother is kind of a creep. He's staring at us, she whispered, and Cassidy snickered. Actually, he has his eye on one girl at this table. No offense, Lai, but my brother is not the commitment type. I don't want to have to beat him up for breaking your heart, teased Faith. The girls laughed, and Layla looked at Connor. She stuck her tongue out at him, and he reared his head back. Well, I was glad I could help fix his pretty face, she said, making a face at him. His face is pretty, sighed Cassidy, and Faith laughed. Connor made a face at Layla and saw his sister look at him. He stuck his tongue out at her, and she made a face at him. She noticed Layla was making faces at him and chuckled when he made a face at her. What are you doing? She asked, laughing, and Layla raised her hand. Having a contest, and he's winning. Faith, Bailey, and Cassidy looked at each other and laughed. Hey, I've got an idea. After we eat, let's go out to the stone circle. Magic is the strongest there, and I want to see your wings, said Cassidy, and Layla scoffed. I don't need a bunch of rocks to spread my wings. I can show you right now. No, not here, said Cassidy, raising her head, and Bailey, Faith, and Layla laughed. Layla gave her banshee friend a thoughtful look. Of course not in here. Come on. She giggled, getting up from the table, and Faith, Bailey, and Cassidy ran out of the hall with their friend.
I can see the stars align